Welcome back to the Pro Physique Code with me and Daraja. Welcome back. Welcome back. You don't know about Welcome Back Cotter, do you? You're not that old.
Um, I don't know.
Okay, that was a 70s show. That was even before my time, but I just remember
So
that.
probably not.
Yeah. Well, you're an old soul. You've got an odd kind of
I
energy,
know.
like knowledge base, not
I
typical of a
know.
27-year-old. Or are you 27 now or 28?
28.
28.
We're getting up there. But yeah, no, my interests are definitely not, I don't think all the typical millennial things, but
I can't even
I
keep
love
up. You're a
nostalgia.
millennial. I heard a comedian the other day say, he's the same age as me. He's like, I'm from the 1900s. And I was like, I feel that. It feels like I'm from a different century than, the kids these days anyway. So,
Sometimes.
yeah.
But I'm really excited that we're on here today to chat and catch up with our listeners, because it's been a while.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you are obviously like a huge fan favorite. You're a personal favorite of me. And, you and I talk probably more than any two humans who aren't married. So like I know where you're at and you know where I'm at, like we go through our concerns together and our excitement together.
I mean,
But
at this point, we're very good friends, almost family at this point. It's not just client
yeah.
coach
Well,
anymore.
and I honestly, like it's almost like the same thing as the relationship with my wife. I don't feel the need to tell everybody what the hell's going on between me and my wife, between us.
Yeah.
So like when you and I are like working, we're working. I'm not I know some coaches like to, show a lot of stuff, and every now and then I do, but with sometimes it's just, hey, we're doing our job. You'll see it on stage.
I mean, we're working, we're supposed to be working. So
Yeah,
I
yeah, we're getting the
we'll
feedback
leave it
from
at that.
judges, we're getting qualified, we're going to shows, um, so yeah, I think it'll be fun to kind of go over the season. Maybe we'll talk
Mhm.
about how last season ended and kind of like go through that just as a kind of refresher that will help everybody understand. So
Yeah.
we walk off the stage 2022 top four in the world, literally on cloud nine. You and
Yeah.
I go to breakfast the next morning, just me and you get a ridiculous graham cracker coffee thing that you had one sip of, and then you had just gotten married, and then it was I think the honeymoon was pretty early in the year, right? So everyone was like, are you doing the Arnold? And we said,
It was the last week of December going into New Year's. So I didn't get back until that first week of December. And I had absolutely no intention of applying for the Arnold or competing at the Arnold because
no.
after the year of just grinding and trying to balance life and competing, I'm definitely someone who likes to prioritize and
you
enough awareness and reflection to have a good balance where I'm happy and present and I'm not burning myself out, and also making sure that my husband and my marriage are and my relationship are healthy. And I think that was just not what I needed at the time, so that's
Yeah.
kind of that's
Well,
why
and as a coach, I would say my ideal scenario for a competitor is to take a year off between shows. You and I have not had that luxury. It's been
we're
six
gonna we're
years.
gonna get to that.
Yeah, but I
We're gonna
mean,
get to
I
that.
don't think people realize, because the way the world moves, everything is so fast. It's been 6 years that you've done a show basically every spring, every fall, every spring, every fall, and sometimes spring, summer, fall, right? So it's been a lot. So when you get a chance to kind of step back, you know, I think I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I would, and that, like, I was absolutely on top of the world, and like, not to jump ahead too far, but obviously, I posted about my placing, and for those of who don't know, I placed ninth at this year's Olympia. And I remember, my post was, I felt like it was respectful. There was not really like a negative tone. It was just like, I accept, my placing, but I'm not done yet. Right. I still have a goal. It's to be Miss Bikini Olympia. And I think it's coming from a good place, right? I remember someone had commented, oh, well, isn't, placing ninth in the world still a great accomplishment? Like, how come you're not, acknowledging that? And it's like, in general, yeah, that's a great accomplishment. Because I had said something like, ninth doesn't taste as good as fourth. And I've had fourth, I've had that.
Yeah.
And when your trajectory is like this, you know, anything less than doing better than your last show, or last showing or last, you know, experience, to me, it in that context, not necessarily a loss, but it's like, ugh, it's a little disappointing. It's a letdown.
It felt
And
like
then,
it felt to me just like I felt at your first Arnold,
mm,
where I was
mm,
so proud that you even got to go to the Arnold.
yeah,
And I was so proud that you stood next to the girls you stood next to. But
right.
then at the same time, I was kind of like, well, damn, what do we got to do? What's going on? Right. So
Right.
yeah.
And but also in the context of competition, there's a distinct difference between first place and not first place. There's no, that's very black and white. You either get first or you don't.
Right.
And when your goal is first place, anything less than that, you know, black and white is a bit disappointing.
Yeah. And I
Uh,
think people that watch the sport and they assume that like all the competitors that are competing at the Olympia just know their placing, they just know their place. I promise you, every single girl at that show, I won't say every single, but there was a very large group of
there's
girls
a
at that
good
show that were
amount.
going there to win the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a good amount of us, a good percentage who are gunning for that top spot. We don't just dilly-dally into this,
So
you
people might
know,
not remember this, but you've beaten Jennifer Dory. So
I
why not
have,
think you can win Miss Bikini Olympia? You've beaten
right,
Carly Chapados. You've beaten
right.
Bikini. You've beaten these Ashley Kaltwasser. So
Yeah.
on any given day, Daraja can be Miss Bikini Olympia, and that is forever going to be at this point our goal.
Right. So let's backtrack again. So we came off of fourth place at the Olympia. I go on vacation. We started our reverse. I ended up with COVID when we came back.
I think a
And so
lot of people got sick, right? Like right after.
I actually didn't get sick until Keith got sick.
Uh,
I was fine. I did everything. I went and got my like little vitamin IV drip. I was like on it because I
so
was
you
like,
were
I'm
back home when
sick.
you got it. It wasn't like a carryover from Vegas.
No, yeah, no, I literally got it the day we were traveling home from Switzerland. I was like, shit.
Uh,
And so when I got back, obviously that wasn't ideal because it's like, okay, well, I'm just now starting this reverse diet. Anybody who's dieted generally, but obviously in a contest prep, your body is in a very sensitive position. Especially if you are, you know, consuming in a surplus of calories. So I just ended up very inflamed. I was trying to like balance like, okay, hunger versus like, you know, making sure that I'm not overdoing it so that I'm not just rebounding bad. And I think it just wasn't the best, it wasn't an ideal scenario to start a reverse diet because vacation was fine. I'm not someone who flies off the handle and is like, oh, I need to eat all the foods. That's just not my MO. But you know, getting sick and just yeah, it sucked. So I ended up, I think, up like 9 or 10 pounds above stage weight, like within like 3 weeks. Some of it was definitely inflammation, but some of it I obviously, you know, was body fat, and you could see it right when I'm checking, and I can see that I'm kind of puffy and whatever. And so starting the reverse like that, obviously not ideal because, you know, we kind of always go back to that one reverse where I was like 10 pounds above stage weight and eating like 2,200 calories a day. And doing
that was
like,
after your first Olympia when you got 14th, and you're like, let's
yeah,
go. Yeah.
yeah. And then, so, and I know how to manage that. So, and I told you, I was like, I didn't do anything drastically different with my reverse diet approach. I think just a combination of also hormonal changes. You know, I stopped my birth control, so that played a role. I do still have endometriosis and PCOS, which PCOS can have an impact on your thyroid function and metabolism. And so I think just it ended up kind of this scenario where it just wasn't necessarily ideal for us to,
Well,
I think.
and I think also we knew there was no rush to get back to stage. This wasn't like we didn't even have a timeline. I think we had discussed it, but like
There was and there wasn't, because obviously, you know, like in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking, okay, like, you know, if we're gonna come, you know, qualify, the deadline is at this date. I
yeah,
need to compete before, so we need to start prep at X, Y, and Z. So you're still kind of doing that mental math, and then, you know, and I talked about this with you on the phone earlier, but I'm so excited about this off season because for the very first time in like forever, I'm not like doing that math, working backwards for my off season to figure out, okay, when are we going to start prep again? Which we'll get to in a second. But you know, there is this kind of rush or sense of urgency to kind of like fit all the things in and recover and feel good again so that you can put on, because obviously I needed to build my glutes still, to build and to enjoy life a little bit while I can before I start prep again. And I think just we ended up heavier than I wanted to be and expected to be. You know, even though my body composition, I feel like I still looked pretty good. You know, one of the things that I noticed the most that I want to avoid this off season is getting back up to the high 130s, you know, low 140s. I ended up at like 142, I think, at the highest this off season. And it's not that it really bothered me. I'm not really someone that kind of struggles too much with that, because at the end of the day, like, it is what it is. And I knew we needed to build, but my cycles, my reproductive health, when I'm that heavy, I think because of the endometriosis and the lesions that are already existing, when you add on the added visceral body fat, I just feel like my body just does not like
Yeah.
to be that heavy. And I've always been very lean. Like growing up, I was like this big, right? I always had like delts, quads,
Yeah.
hammies popping. So being lean isn't like, you know, this crazy goal for me, but um that my goal priority right now is to actually just be healthy and feel good. And I feel that my best when I'm in my routine and I'm not eating whatever whenever, and you know, managing my nutrition to the point where like I don't even feel my cycle coming, right?
Right.
That's kind of the goal right now.
Yeah. I've always noticed there's a sweet spot for you towards the
Yeah.
end of prep before we reach that like elite shredded condition where you're just like feeling good, you're looking good, your cycle symptoms are good. Like we just kind of cruise. And then obviously we have to get to that last little bit, which is always
Mhm.
the low energy, questionable, like, training and, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when you
We
told me
started this, I started this prep honestly really excited because I could see the changes that we made and the improvements we made.
yeah,
And things were moving. Like for that first, like I want to say
yeah,
12,
because you had like
16
a
days
photo,
ago.
we were going to do like a little photo shoot you had along the
Yeah.
way. So there was like it wasn't just prep. It was like along the way, there was these moments where we're going to like, oh, cool, let's do this.
Mhm.
So it did start off great. And then we just hit a point where it was like, you'd go down to, up to, down to, I was like, we just got stuck in
It
this
was a fight.
wheel.
It was a freaking
And it was
fight.
really early on and we were already being pretty aggressive. And I'm like, man, okay, the thing that I always trust within myself with my coaching is like, even if I have to put somebody in the grinder of double cardio, low calories early in prep, I know how to give diet breaks, refeeds,
Yeah.
where we can grind for a day or two or a week and then take a couple days off. And then it seems to speed up the process. And I felt like every time we would get to a place where I was like, here we go, it would just go, "Meh." It wouldn't go.
It was like you just kind of keep trying to start the engine and it's just like
You would
doing that
text me like,
whole.
oh, we hit 119. And then like 2 days later, 121. And I'm like,
I know. And
like when I would expect the new low, we wouldn't get it. I think
I
same thing for
know.
you.
Same, same. And I think it definitely started to get frustrating. And to be honest, so like fast forward to getting on stage Battle of the Bodies, I won. We knew we needed to be leaner for Olympia though. So but that was kind of where the plateau started,
Yeah.
was there.
And
And
that's
then I
where I
was like,
expected it to not happen anymore because it was like, okay,
right,
pressure's off. We got qualified.
yeah. And then so it for I think it was, I looked it up on my app, my tracking app, but 8 weeks we kind of did this with
Yeah.
the weight. It was kind of like doing this, where we really hit like a full-on plateau. And I just remember feeling so stressed. And for the very first time, I completely doubted whether or not we were going to actually even make it, whether or not I was going to actually like, and I remember coming home and looking at Keith after this Olympia and was like, should I have called it? because there was a time where I
Yeah.
was like, dude, I don't know if I can fucking do this anymore. I'm
Yeah.
so tired.
Was it right after Phoenix, or there was
I
a
think
point where I
so.
think
I think so.
we got on a call and I was like 50-50 that you were going to be like, you know what? I need to not put my contract in for the Olympia. And I would have been okay.
I thought about it. I
Yeah.
definitely thought about it. But what crossed my mind, honestly, is Miss Bikini Olympia doesn't become Miss Bikini Olympia by if she quits, she doesn't become Miss Bikini Olympia.
Sure.
So I was like, if I can see this through and it happens, then it was worth it. Obviously, we saw it through. It didn't happen, which obviously was disappointing. And I think in the moment, um, coming up, I mean, do we want to talk like go into that now, or do we want to like keep?
Well, let's talk a little bit about, so there's opportunity in struggle. And so the
Mhm.
opportunity in this struggle was, what can we do to figure out this problem?
Yeah,
And I think getting your blood work done a month out and going, okay, what can we resolve for me and you? And
which
we don't have to go into the details of what we did,
I mean,
but
my testosterone was low.
testosterone was low, thyroid function was low, which,
What you expect
boohoo,
at
you're
that
in
point
prep.
of prep. Yeah,
But it
but I
was
didn't want to
chronically,
take. I didn't want to like dabble in taking any hormones or
no.
kind of taking that route just because one, honestly, I really pride myself in being a natural athlete, and I know a lot of girls look up to me because of that. And I think it would have like it just didn't sit well with me to think that I would, kind of just all of a sudden flip the script. And we've pushed my body year after year after year, and I had to accept the fact that, we're going on 5, 6 years of dieting on and off for 6 years. I put my body through the ringer.
Well, and
We need to get
25
this.
pounds in a 9-month, 10-month frame, that's, for a person that weighs as little as you do, that's a lot.
It is a lot. It's
That's
a big
like
fluctuation.
20% of your total body weight gained and lost.
Yeah. Yeah. And so one of the things that I felt like, okay, we have nothing else to really lose here, is Core Nutritionals makes a natural like testosterone,
Hmm.
booster.
I might
The
have it.
ingredients in there, Core Test.
Yeah.
Obviously it's marketed as a men's product, but instead of me having to do all the research and gather all the ingredients myself, Core makes a supplement that has all of the herbs and ingredients to naturally boost your testosterone. So I went ahead and tried that, and to be honest, I felt like it actually made a pretty good impact on just my
Well,
energy levels, my
yeah,
mood.
immediately within a couple days, we started seeing numbers we hadn't seen
Yeah,
before. You started sending me videos of your core, your hamstrings, and
yeah,
I'm like, okay.
looking a little bit harder, muscles popping, body coming to life. So that was exciting.
Well, and then it was just a matter of like, okay, are we going to run out of days? Because
Yeah.
we can't just grind. We have to take recovery. We know that for a fact with you. So it was
And
like,
that was a hard part for me, was pulling back, because I was
yeah,
like, I just run my face into the ground and I'm fine
yeah,
with it.
yeah.
We actually had a hard time feeding me because I didn't want to eat.
Well, and then we had, going up to Pittsburgh for the road to the Olympia.
Mhm.
I felt like that was our Olympia. I was like,
Mm.
because the first thing Tyler says was like, what was going on with your core at Battle of the Bodies?
I was on my
Like,
period while I was getting it.
yeah. So like they knew, even though he wasn't the judge, he knew. Like and the exciting thing for me in Pittsburgh was like he was like, okay, you look
Yeah.
great. Like he looks at me and he says, what are you going to change?
I needed that. We both needed that
Oh
to
yeah,
hear,
yeah.
that
That
we were pretty much on target, conditioning
I
wise,
asked him straight up. I said, can she be in the conversation for Miss Bikini Olympia? He said, absolutely. It comes down to show day,
speaking. Yeah.
which, Tyler, for those that don't know Tyler, he is a man of few words for good reason, tells you what he needs to tell you, and that's it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've gotten feedback from him that I wasn't ready to hear. And then, months or years later, I was like, that was the right call.
Yeah.
So like, I would have suspected if he didn't feel that way, he would have said, maybe first call outs, maybe top 10, maybe second call. I think he's pretty blunt.
Yeah.
So I
So that
think,
lit a fire under my butt
yeah.
after that.
And that was a Monday. So we were probably like 12 days out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like, I mean, I remember you and I doing like cartwheels at the airport on the way back to Tampa.
Yeah, I was really excited to hear
Yeah.
that.
So that was good. And
Because I
then,
finally felt like, okay,
yeah,
we're not completely missing the mark here.
Yeah.
I'm not as far off as I feel like I am, because obviously too, when you're in the trenches and you're depleted and you're tired, you're not really thinking rationally. So I needed someone who hasn't seen me in a while. Obviously, like we check in very frequently. So someone who hasn't seen me in person to tell me you're doing good, you're fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So that was good. And I mean, then from there, it was just like you went back home, we went back to the lab.
mhm.
And then I mean, I feel like we were on track. And in fact, I think it was the day before or 2 days before that we trained, and I took some pictures of you, and I was like,
Yeah,
this back pose is Miss Bikini Olympia.
I feel good about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely better than last year shape wise. And
Yeah.
I mean, my consistently feedback is we don't want to see too much separation and detail in your hamstrings. And that's
Yeah.
definitely something for me that can get a little bit crazy. And so we wanted to make sure that we kept enough fullness to please the judges.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, Tyler always tells us, you of all people got to be full. He loves when you're full.
yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
does not like when you are sucked in.
yep, yeah. So, which actually answers one of the questions, because someone had actually asked me, what, how'd you feel about your conditioning? And to be honest, I mean, I I felt like we could have been a bit tighter, just looking at the pictures and the videos, but it was a look that I felt like from pose, back pose, the judges have been asking of me. So it was interesting just to see how that looked and how that did on stage. So I think, for upcoming shows, we'll kind of tinker and tweak that. But
Yeah, Monday morning quarterbacking that, and getting the pictures. And I have so many pictures from last year, like every single day leading in, because we went from Texas where we got second,
yeah,
literally like
I
we were
definitely
like
felt like we were
microscope.
tighter then. I
Oh
felt
yeah,
like,
so like that's what I was gonna say. Like honestly, last year's Olympia, the one thing I was concerned about was we were too tight. Like one day out, when you were walking, your glutes were a little straight, your hamstrings were crispy.
yeah.
So the fill out actually kind of smoothed out some of those details
Mhm.
without losing any detail. And I think this
But the
year,
feedback from that was still that my hamstrings were too
yeah,
prominent.
too
So
prominent to move ahead of Ashley.
yeah,
Like, because that's where we were. So the day before this Olympia was probably like that look, and we got just a touch softer. So like, yeah, I mean, we made I'll tell you this, when I saw you the morning of the Olympia, I was so excited. Your abs were popping.
I
You got
know.
those oblique divots that look so good on you. Your hip dip was like I could
Yeah,
stick a finger in it. Like
dug
you
out.
you had the look, and I think it was just a little bit of tightness on that outer glute. So
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that we finished ninth is a good sign, because we could have got moved way down if we showed up like Battle of the Bodies or Phoenix. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I got ninth, and when I didn't hear my name in first call outs, I was just shattered, to be completely blunt. And there's just no way to like really sugarcoat it, but I was sad. I was just sad because we worked really hard, and I was just hoping. I
You worked.
knew.
You worked. This is the hardest you've ever worked in a prep.
Yeah. And so I was just I was just sad. And then, the first thoughts that creeped into my mind is, what did I do wrong? What did I do that the judges don't like? What did I do? So,
I
um,
actually was getting text messages, because I was sitting there live and people were watching the live stream. When you came out for groups and individuals, I was getting messages like, "Oh my gosh, Daraja looks stunning. She looks amazing." So,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
and
it'll be interesting to hear what the judges have to say, because we're still waiting for feedback from them. But yeah, I was just disappointed, and I'm just one of those people. I wear it on my face, and I could not for the
oh yeah,
life of
people were
me
like,
hide
I
it.
could, yeah, like, and good for you. Like, be, I like, say what you want to say, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
You walked
Um,
off stage and you were like, did I even place? And I'm like, Daraja, you were in the top 10. And you were like, oh, good. Like, I don't even think
I
after that, I don't think you were like coherent.
No. Oh, you want to know why? I had to completely like for that time just shut down. I could not be as present as I would have liked to be because if I was, I would have been in tears in front of everybody and I needed
Okay.
to stop at the booth. So I had to pull my shit together
Well,
and
because your pre-workout came out. Big shout out to
yes,
you.
which is so cool. So
It's
freaking
got your little
cool.
silhouette on there.
Yeah, man,
You
which
have one
I
on your
mean
desk?
and it's oh no, I don't. It's downstairs.
Failed.
But it's all over my Instagram, so go check it out. But that was one of the things that I think for me saved the weekend was celebrating that and that accomplishment because that's freaking huge.
Yeah.
To have a flavor
Well, and
collaboration
like you see your dad, you see your brother, you've got this amazing, your husband, you've got this amazing
and you
support system and
guys,
fan base
you
that
know,
like, yeah, and
yeah.
obviously like I was just concerned how you felt, but then at the end of the day, I was like, hold up, man, like we're in the top 10 in the world. We can't like we didn't we didn't miss by that much, right? So yeah,
Here's the thing. Here's the thing is I am forever far more critical and hard on myself than anybody could ever be and anybody I don't think could ever actually understand. Like you
yeah,
see me smile and I'm happy and I'm sweet and whatever, but if I feel like I've missed the mark, I am the last thing I'm thinking about is, oh, the judges screwed up or, blah blah blah, it's somebody else. It's always what am I doing? What am I not doing? What did I do wrong? Where did I miss? And it all falls on my shoulders at the end of the day, which is a lot of pressure to put on yourself, especially in a very subjective sport. But that's where my mind goes. And then the next place my mind goes is now there are these people here that support me and these people who have been supporting me this whole time. You, my dad, my family that came into town to see me, and I felt like I shit the bed. Like that's how I felt at the time.
sure.
And so it definitely took me a minute to process that, but I will say what really saved me was Jessica Wilson backstage. We had a wonderful conversation briefly, and she just reminded me, of all the things that, those pep talks that you need to have with someone who's there and understands from an athlete's perspective that's on the stage with you that is going through the same experience. And so she really she helped uplift me a little bit and kind of bring me back
Yeah.
down to earth. But then seeing you guys and seeing how proud you are of me and how much you still love me and care for me and that's what made me smile at the end of the day is like I still have so much love and support.
Jessica's easily one of my favorite people on this
She's
planet. She's
awesome.
just
So
like
awesome.
so bubbly and happy. And I mean, when she came out, I was like, damn, is she going to be in first call outs? She looked amazing. So, like,
Yeah.
the list of people that you placed ahead of, I think, like, in years to come, we'll look back and be like, damn, you really did do pretty damn good at that Olympia, especially when we get back up in that top spot, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be a part of the journey. But I understand what you mean. Like, in the moment, it just feels like a wasted year effort, people like this, like that, all that weight hits you just all at once.
Yeah.
Um,
It was very
so,
overwhelming, to say the least. So I pulled it together. I came off stage, went to the booth for a little bit, signed some tubs, smiled, took
well,
some
and I
pictures.
think like this actually got me excited. Like, we got to be back at finals, so go get your poke. Like, almost like, hey, this ain't over. Let's go get. Well, now we know at finals they're not moving people around; they're just
Right, right.
confirmation routines and awards. But like 10 bikini competitors out of 10,000 in the world get to go to Olympia finals, right? So it's
It's
that
it's so huge. It's
that's one of
huge.
the biggest honors in the sport. And then you got 49 girls. Well, 39 girls aren't going to finals, and
Yeah.
their season's over. They're not qualified for the Olympia. They're done. And it's like there's a lot of finality with the Olympia, and that's the thing that struck me the first time I went with you. It was like
Mhm.
we grinded, we worked, we got to the Olympia.
It's very cutthroat.
You
It's
didn't
like
get
you
to go to
either made it or you
finals.
didn't.
And it was
Yeah.
like, well, what did we do? It was this weird feeling, almost like the last day of school, but no one told you it was the last day of school. You just showed up
Yeah.
and no one was there. And it was like,
Yeah.
so I felt good
Um,
about the fact that we got to go to finals and be backstage, and you got to be there with Ari because she was a deer in
oh my
headlights all
gosh,
day.
yes, and congratulations, her Olympia debut, she placed, what was it, sixth?
Seventh, seventh.
Seventh.
Yeah. So I mean,
Unreal.
that was unexpected. I mean, I won't say unexpected, but like, I asked her, I said, after, because she was in that first call out, and then she went backstage. I said, "What did you do?" She's like, "I just stared into space. All the girls were talking, and I didn't know what to do." I was like, "That's funny."
Yeah, we none of us know what to do.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, yeah, and it was cool to experience that with her too, just because obviously, backstage it can get kind of like quiet and lonely. Everyone's kind of in their little zone talking with their people. So it was nice to share that experience with her and to hopefully make her feel a little bit
Well,
more
and
comfortable.
the day got to go through the day with you guys too, and make her feel like part of the experience, because
Yeah,
this was her eighth show ever.
yeah,
Turned pro. She did her first show in April, turned pro in May, and is at the Olympia in
insane.
October, like November. Like, yeah, so that's a lot to take on. And
Yeah,
it's gonna sound funny to say, but you're like the veteran now. You're like the
I know.
captain.
I know. I was like, I also, I mean, in that sense too, I'm like, let me be a better example and not, be sour about this, being that I didn't place as well as I wanted to. I'm like, I need to have a good attitude about this. Because not just for myself, but for the people who are looking up to me, who are around me, who are following
Well,
me.
you're the person you looked up to most in the sport is Angelica Teixeira,
Oh my
and
gosh,
I'll
yeah,
never
still to this
forget.
day.
So the Arnold that you did, in my mind, she should have won, but
She
Issa
looked
got the win.
phenomenal. She looked phenomenal.
And I saw Angelica after that, and she could not have been happier. Like, so
Yeah.
you take a lot in that. Like, wins and losses
And
are gonna happen, but
in her career, I mean, she did probably just as many shows as I've done in my entire career just before she won her first Olympia. So it's like,
oh gosh,
and
yeah.
that's the thing is like once you pull your head out of your ass because you're in the moment, it's not always easy to see the light at the end of the tunnel once you're in it. But it's we have a plan, but it's not the plan, right? So you have to be able to pivot and adjust your mindset and go, okay, this didn't work out how I planned it, but that I'm not giving up. I'm not done yet. I being that I've, beat the majority, the only person I didn't beat in that top lineup was Maureen.
The only
Um,
person you haven't beaten is Maureen in the entire IFBB right now.
And I think if anything, it's as odd as it is, I am more fired up than ever, knowing that I can be Miss Bikini Olympia. I have that in me. And so I'm just excited to continue to pursue the title. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to prioritize some rest and recovery. So
So, do
we
you
have
want to tell them, or should I, that you're doing Atlantic Coast?
a
Just
it's
kidding.
so funny. Your face when we went to breakfast the next day, I
Oh,
played
you mother, you,
I played he almost
you,
cried. Yo,
you.
I almost made Paul cry. So we went to breakfast and I have been waiting all morning to do this to you. And I kind of wish I had kept it going a little bit longer
I
to
mean,
see
you
what
held pretty long. I think I
so
was.
I looked at Paul. I looked at him with the straightest face I could possibly make, and I was like, yeah, so I think I'm just done. I think I'm done competing. I can't do this anymore. And you were like, are you fucking kidding me?
I don't think I said anything. I think I just stared at you
You were just like sitting there in shock.
because I was looking around like, am I getting
Yeah.
bumped?
I didn't tell anybody I was gonna say that either. It was
No,
just
that
me.
was
Um, and yeah, after a little bit, I was like, just kidding. And he
just
was like,
kidding. I want to be Miss Bikini Olympia. And I was like, okay, good. Because I'll support you. But man,
oh man, yeah, no. That was funny. I figured how funny would it be to see what he thinks of that. Um, but yeah, so being that we've been competing for 6 years straight with no break, we have discussed this, but we have no plans to compete in the near future until my body and my mind are where I feel like they need to be gunning for it. I want to come out the next prep we do, the next time we step on stage, I want it to be like, holy shit, where did she come from?
so just
You
so
know,
you guys know, that means she is not stepping on stage in 2024.
no, I don't have no
No.
plans or urge to step on stage next year. My goal right now, priority wise, like I had mentioned in the beginning, is to nail this reverse, not because I'm trying to stay stage lean, but because it's the best thing for my health. Um, and also to just really thrive. I'm really excited about this life season, the energy and the time that I spend in prep now, I get to spend on work and my clients and coaching and being a better coach and learning how to do, to
Well, not
fire
for
up.
nothing. I really missed you this year because I think you came to
I
one event,
know.
right? You came
I
to
was really just hiding out. I was
So
like,
we
I'm
can
happy.
do a lot more events. We can do some seminars. We can do some coaching events. We can do some posing events. Like, you know, yeah, like there was a couple of years there where you were going to all the national shows with me and all that stuff. So I want to get back to that because that's the fun part for me about this sport. Going to a different city every weekend is who I spend it with. So
Yeah,
this year, maybe we did Battle of the Bodies, we did Dallas. So
that
I
was
don't feel
pretty
like,
much it.
yeah. So this upcoming year is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You're going to get to see a lot of people, and then 2025, I think a signature win. Like we don't have like that holy crap win yet.
Yeah.
You've gotten to fourth in the world by picking and choosing, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how I see it.
I'm like honestly just so thrilled to like not have just look at it as like taking it one day and one week at a time, honestly. I
Yeah,
don't think that I've had that luxury in a while. And so yeah, I'm
I
just
mean, and
like
honestly, had you gotten third, we wouldn't be probably having this conversation.
I don't know. I honestly don't know how I would feel. And that's the thing too. So, I mean, that had I gotten third or second, honestly, I'd probably be freaking thrilled right now. Like thrilled to say whether or not I'd be competing again in the near future, again, like whether or not we're going to take that rest, don't know because still I'm pretty tired. And those grinds, I feel like I have PTSD still. But I that would have been a win to me. That's where that loss comes in is when you're not besting yourself.
Right.
And so in that sense, I felt like I didn't succeed. That's where that kind of like, okay, I didn't nail it, came from.
Yeah.
So, and I just, I'm so happy and excited. I can't even like really put words to it because I feel like I'm just so excited to work, man.
Good. Good.
I'm
That
excited to
makes me
like be there
excited.
for my clients.
Excited to
Um,
get you back.
Yeah, man. And my husband's excited to get me back too.
Yeah.
We have date night planned for tomorrow, which I'm freaking thrilled about. Um,
You know where
and
you're
just
going?
yeah. Oh my gosh, I've already looked at them. It's actually one of our favorite places that we usually go to for like
Yeah.
special occasions and celebrations. So yeah. Um, but I think like down the road, what I kind of want to do too is put out more quality and informative content as it relates to like just my philosophies on nutrition and reverse dieting and then, shifting phases to maintaining and when we're going to start to build again. And
I mean, even around posing, because the one thing I've noticed more than ever is that the posing and peaking criteria is evolving from like week to week.
mhm,
I really noticed late in the year they were starting to, and I've noticed this the last couple of years as the Olympia approaches. It's like the judges start going, okay, what do we want for our Olympia champion? These are going to be the criteria, and
right.
you know,
How are we going
definitely,
to
if
set
you
the
guys
example?
watch the Olympia, there was no hard lines in the top three. Like,
Mm,
Ashley was probably the hardest, tight core, tight glutes, but still very full, very feminine. They were not rewarding that chiseled bikini pro look that while it looks cool sometimes, they understand that that's what everyone's going to shoot for. Um, and it was the same thing the year before. So I was very sure that was going to happen again because the one thing I love about the bikini division, they work very hard to keep it the bikini division, not the
mm-hmm.
minifigure division, not
Yeah.
the lats and flared front pose division, and not the striated quad and etched in glute division. They really, and it's hard because you take a champion and let her train for a whole nother year. There's usually going to be some muscle gain there, but I'm
Yeah.
very pleased with how they're handling it.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be that division where, you know, you can put in a few years of hard work and achieve that look.
Yeah.
Um, so are we ready for some questions? So how much time do we
Oh
have?
yeah, love it. Let's do it.
Okay, so how do we feel after the Olympia? How do you feel? How do you feel? So that we answered that one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm okay. It is what it is. You know, we sign up for this. It's competition. This is a sport, right? You can't all win. You can't win them all the time. And you have to accept that. Otherwise, the sport will eat you alive.
Yeah, so I'll say this, proud but not satisfied.
Yeah.
My dream scenario for prejudging would have been Daraja splitting center, Ariana in the top 10, Juma in the top 16, right? That was my dream scenario. We got
Mhm.
damn close to that. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm um yeah, I could want for more, but I almost feel like an idiot because people are like, you had two in the top 10. I was like, oh yeah, like, oh yeah.
Dude.
Like it, you know, like it like
Yeah.
it someone else had to say that to me because I was so like, wait, oh yeah,
Right.
you know, like I'm so
Yeah.
focused on like, well, I wanted Daraja in the middle. Like that was the vision all year.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Oddly enough, my vision was you and Loreley in the middle. Neither of y'all got it.
that was a miss. Um, what was your judges' feedback? We haven't gotten that yet. Um, are you a bit upset about your place compared to last year? No, I'm not upset. Um, there's no point in being upset about that. There's nothing I can do about that. The judges did their job. It is what it is.
Yeah, and I'm not upset based on the criteria and based on how we looked and what I saw up there. No, I feel like the placings were fair.
Someone asked, your conditioning, was it as good as you were expecting? I think we cut it close, but I'm proud of what we brought considering the conditions that were
I hate to
that
say this because
were
I think I say it all the time, but I feel like if we had one more week and they rejudged it, you might have got to the middle. We were right there.
we were
Your body
close.
was so happy on like the day before and on show day. It was
You
like
know,
you were like
it
texting me like every hour, like I feel great. Like, yeah.
yeah. So as good as I was expecting, in short, no. Um, but it was still, I guess, decent. Um, what was your least favorite part of this prep? Um,
It had to be the uncertainty of like, why am I doing all this work and nothing's changing?
yeah. I wanted to say the plateau, but I didn't really know how to like word that. But yeah, it
It
was
happened
just
before Tampa. It happened this prep. But then we've
mhm.
had these periods like after Texas last year, it was like every day you're dropping weight. And it's
Oh, we
just,
hit the ground running last year,
yeah.
but
So,
yeah, it was like feeling like I'm just spinning my freaking wheels and
yeah.
nothing is working, which
If you
is
guys are
never.
competitors, you know exactly how that feels. If you're not competitor, it's hard to explain that you're like, what do
And
you
it's
mean?
not like, so here's the thing, because if you're a lifestyle client or someone who's never competed before, but has dieted and done all the things, it's not like I'm hitting this plateau, but I'm also going out to eat on the weekends, or I'm having a drink here and there, or I'm you
Right.
know having bigger portions or not hitting my macros. I'm hitting everything. I'm doing all the things, crossing all my T's, dotting all my I's, and nothing's fucking working.
Like making
That's
sure you're
when you're
getting
like
sleep, you're doing cryotherapy, you're like,
meditating,
yeah,
managing stress,
yeah,
like auditing my food intake or my food choices so that like my digestion's on point. It's like,
yeah.
what am I doing that's not working? And it's like, what is the answer here? So that is my least favorite part of what was my least favorite part of prep. Um, there was being a natural athlete, what is your biggest challenge compared to enhanced athletes? I kind of feel like that was a good question and I kind of want to address it.
Yeah.
Um, I think not really having anything to help with, well, I mean, creatine's a great supplement and it does help with recovery. And keeping the muscles full helps, build muscle and maintain, muscle. And I think core bulk and core hard are great supplements to add to that recovery regimen, and maintaining lean mass as you diet. But I think, obviously not having experienced on the other side, but being natural, there's that kind of wonder like, oh, I wonder, if I, was enhanced, if I would still be hitting these plateaus, or if I would still be struggling with, building my glutes or things like that. So that's
I'll say
really.
this because now I have a lot of experience in this area of coaching
Mhm.
athletes that are enhanced. Muscular wise, it would not benefit you much because you don't need more muscle, right? I will
No,
say
I would end up
this.
growing out of the division easily.
Yeah, so the thing that I've noticed with my competitors that are getting the benefit of some enhancements, and I'll say I'm very mild compared to most coaches, is that you just continue to build muscle throughout prep. So even as the body fat is coming off, your weight doesn't move as much, you stay more stable, and there's like, yeah, you can
Like
push the
recovery,
body,
you
you can
don't
push the
struggle with
body
the same
harder
thing.
and you don't feel it as much. So
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
But I think a lot of girls are taking stuff just to even have an ounce of your muscle. So like, for those that are curious, what 118 on show day we were?
yeah.
And like I think last Olympia we were 117 on show day. So
Mhm.
like, guys,
At 5'2".
she's 5'2".
Yeah. So that's
That's kind
not
of bonkers.
the
And,
norm
and people
for
ask me
me.
like, oh, what would you weigh for class two? And I was like, class B. I'm like, most of my girls are 103 or 4 pounds in class B. So
Yeah. So I guess from my perspective, not having experience on the enhanced side, I think just wondering like, fuck, if I was, maybe it's easier if I just it would be easier if I just, did X, Y, and Z. But to be honest, thinking about that shit stresses me out. I'm just like, well, I don't know how I'm gonna respond to that. So I just
yeah.
don't even like to kind of add that as a factor. But again, I wouldn't even be able to train. I would have to pull back on training even more than I already do.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it would definitely be a
but
struggle
that's
to
just from
stay
my
in bikini.
perspective.
Yeah.
That's coming from someone who, builds muscle and holds muscle, probably better than the average person. So that's my answer to that question. So I think there were a couple of other good ones. How much do you think your personal health affected your prep in your presentation? Um, so we mentioned, got my blood work done. Testosterone was a little bit low. There were other kind of low markers that were a little bit on the lower end, which obviously does slow down progress and make it, rather difficult. But I think I'm still relatively healthy. So, I mean, it's not like everything's just in the shitter and I'm, this just walking zombie. Obviously, I'm okay.
Yeah, I called her this morning and was just like, for those that don't coach or don't compete, I get so personal with my competitors. I mean, I literally talk to you guys sometimes twice a day for months on end. So like I hadn't talked to you since Sunday, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I don't want to, I'm not in prep anymore. Like, I'm
Oh,
not
I
gonna
know. And
be
I think
there.
we agreed you're going to check in on Friday, but I was
Yeah,
just like, it's Thursday. And I feel like there's like a hole in my life. Even Juma and Ariana, like I haven't talked to them
right.
as much this week. And it's like, it's hard to explain, but you just feel like I feel like something's off, and it's like,
Yeah,
oh, I want to call Daraja. Like,
yeah,
I call you at like once a day anyway. So,
yeah,
um, but I could hear it in your voice, and that, like, as a coach, if I have a competitor that I'm like, okay, I need to put this person in the grinder, hell week, whatever you want to call it, to get them ready. I gotta talk to them because I gotta hear their voice. And your voice today was like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, yes, we're good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I mean, even that post after Olympia, I mean, that's a very stimulating week as is. And obviously a lot of emotions that kind of just come to a head when you finally hit that point, right? When you finally get on that Olympia stage. And then so it definitely took me a couple of days to actually feel back to normal. I remember Tuesday I felt like ass. I was just so tired.
Oh,
Wednesday hit, I was like, oh, I'm still pretty tired. Today I'm feeling better, still a tad bit fatigued, but I mean I'm still lean. And we're still, keeping food pretty conservative right now. So I'm feeling better, obviously.
yeah.
So
I think I was in Brett's room until 3 or 4 in the morning the night of the Olympia.
he
Like we
was
just
out partying.
we just what you call it partying, but like I think I had a beer because I don't drink much. But it was
Y'all
just,
are raging.
oh, it was fun. Loretta was with us, Lauren Conlon's mom, and she's a hoot. And so we were just laughing. And I couldn't believe nobody yelled at us. But like, yeah, even for me, like that was the feeling for a couple days, was like the exhaustion
Recovering.
of like the booth, the gym, it's like, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's just crickets.
Done.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, someone asked if I really work out my core. So yes, the videos that you see me posting on my Instagram where I'm training abs, I actually do that. Um, and do I have specific days designated? Pretty much every day that I train, I do a little ab circuit after.
So Jen Dory bumped into us in Pittsburgh in the airport, sweetest human of all time. And
She's a cool chick.
he actually asked about Ari's feedback. And I said, well, they want her core tighter. And she was like, well, here's something they said that to her a few years ago, and this is what she did. So she actually gave me some advice to give Ari, and I did, and it obviously worked. And it was just to train abs a little bit every day. Don't
Mhm.
do 30 sets one day. And and I said,
All
you know,
body weight, like light stuff.
yeah,
Just
just,
engage it.
and so I think it's healthy to do core work a couple times a week. I usually give people a workout for like 3 days a week, but
And I will say, when you're stage lean, you're gonna see the benefit more as far as the aesthetics are
oh
concerned.
yeah.
Obviously, like when I'm, 10, 15 pounds above stage weight, sorry, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I see my abs now. But when you're, getting ready to get on stage or you are pretty lean, that's when you're gonna see, okay, yeah, I got some blood flow to my abs, they're tighter, my core's popping. That's kind of like, I think, the benefit. There's definitely a benefit to training your core in general. Just because it's good to have a strong core for training, especially if
Yeah.
you're training hard. It protects your back, protects everything. Um, but yeah, that's my answer to that. Are you considering the Arnold? Absolutely not.
Well, that's not true. That's not true at all.
Well, the Arnold 2025, maybe.
There it is.
Yes. But as far as 2024 is concerned, I
No.
will go to watch, but I'm not submitting my contract. No. I'm in full off season, life season, whatever you want to call it, but I'm resting.
I mean, that's like 13, 14 weeks away. So
Yeah, no, no, no. And we're going on vacation again. We're going back to Switzerland. So, um, last one. How do you personally overcome setbacks? I think this is an awesome question because, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I will say my answers to all these questions are really based off of my own personal experience and kind of the things and mindsets that help me make it through, setbacks. But gratitude is my solution to literally everything. And by that I mean I started really getting into like kind of like I guess you can call them self-help books, but my favorite ones right now are 101 Essays That'll Change the Way You Think is a fantastic book. I listened to it on Audible. You don't have to read them, by the way. I like to do it like that just because you can take notes and listen to it on the treadmill or listen to it during cardio, whatever you want to do in the car, road trips, whatever. If you're not a heavy reader. The Mountain Is You is a good one. That one kind of just exposes my own personal struggles, but those are awesome, awesome books. Power is a great one. But basically just gratitude is just one of those things where you end up looking, it changes your perspective because no matter what happens, you end up grateful for that circumstance. Meaning I'm grateful that I even get a chance to have this experience and these feelings in this situation and feel the way that I do because it's part of my story. It's part of my experience as a competitor, as a human being. And now that I'm, present and allowing myself to go, okay, this is how I feel and accept that, right? I'm not going to fight myself for feeling disappointed because I feel like I shouldn't feel disappointed because I still made top 10. It's like, no, you can still feel disappointed that you didn't do as well as you wanted. You should feel that way. But you can go, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I take this and turn this into, I'm going to get, I'm going to get better for next time. And being grateful for every experience, just over time, you find that you're not actually actively having to seek out the, being grateful for those moments and those experiences, that just ends up being your coping mechanism for everything, stress, anxiety, just negative emotions in general. I immediately check in and go, okay, what's the positive to this? And that's kind of just how I like to go about the rest of my life. Whether it's work, it's like, oh, I'm stressed out this week because I have X, Y, and Z client, that's struggling with this. It's like, okay, well, I can take that information and go, I can now like I can be a better coach because of that. Whether it's
That's
something
what
I didn't,
I was hoping you would get to that point.
yeah, it's something that I didn't communicate properly, or something that I didn't make clear at the beginning, or something that I can recognize easier and touch on ahead of time so that I can avoid having a client experience that in the future. And yeah, those things, I mean, that's just a tip of the iceberg in my opinion.
Yeah, setbacks to me, and I know the question was addressed to you, but setbacks to me, which happen every day, every week, every weekend.
They're inevitable.
As much as I would like to literally go to every show, when I don't do that. And there are times when I question, like, God, am I good enough at this job? Am I doing the right thing by being a coach? Like, those thoughts cross my mind every week. But the one thing that I just always have to remind myself when something goes wrong is every great thing that has happened in my life has been a direct response to a failure. Your first call out at the Olympia, my first time ever having an athlete at the first call at the Olympia, was the direct result of you not being in first call outs the year before and the conversation we had right after. And so, it's so, like, for lack of a better word, like, Ari benefited from my mistakes with you, or my, like, right. So, like, it's the same thing. Like, every time I have a mistake, every time I have a competitor that doesn't win or doesn't do something, I try to better prepare myself to be better the next time. So, like, in this weird way, as much as, like, a failure hurts me, I have this, because I'm fucking old now, I'm 48. I have this weird feeling of, like, man, nothing is going right. And I'll be like, something good's about to happen. Like, it's literally that quick that my brain, because you can mire in it. You can go, oh, I screwed up. I can blame someone else, but there's no learning in that. So, like, if I
setbacks
see,
are really only setbacks if you don't use them to grow and be
right,
better.
yeah,
That's really the only,
yeah,
I mean, what are you going to apply for a job and not get the job and you're like, I guess I'm not working anymore? Like, no, you're going to apply for a new job. You're going to update your resume. You're going to
yeah,
sharpen your skills and you're going to get after it.
yeah. And
Um,
that's it.
so, I mean, life's also way too freaking short to
Right here.
to just dwell.
Stevie's here.
Hi, Stevie. For those who are listening and not watching this, Paul's dog just popped in.
Oh, this is on YouTube. Stevie's here, and Steven's here. Steven and Stevie.
Yeah.
But
Come
yeah,
say hi.
life's just too short to be dwelling on the what ifs or the negatives and the things that didn't happen that you wish happened. Hi, Steven.
Don't do the creepy stare.
Did I come in at a really inappropriate time?
Well, we're just finishing the podcast. So. If anyone's still listening, they don't mind.
All right.
As I was
come into
saying,
bed?
but yeah, life's just too short and you should do your best to get the absolute most out of every experience. And I think happiness has to be of the utmost priority. Happiness and health are my main goals, and whatever steps I need to take to accomplish that and achieve that and feel that, that's what I'm going to do. And part of that is being grateful for my life and everything that happens to it.
Yeah. So if something failure, let it hurt in the moment.
Yeah,
but learn
man.
from it. And that's the thing. I think don't not feel hurt by, like, compartmentalizing it or saying it's somebody else's fault. So
Yeah, you should feel that. You feel it, process it, reflect, let it go, get up, be a badass.
one thing that I don't think many realize about you is just how, like, competitive you are and how, like,
I am.
setbacks drive you forward. So
Heck yeah.
all right. Well, any other thoughts?
No, man, I'm just really excited about this life season.
Yes, life season. I like it. All right. Well, I'm going to hold you to that. You're coming to a bunch of events this year.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, that means y'all are going to be seeing more of me around.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to the Pro Physique Co with me and Daraja, and more to come.
Excited. Love
Talk
you
to you guys soon.
guys.